It's mano a mano. Jimmy Butler meets face-to-face with Pat Riley, and sources say not so fast on Butler not playing for this championship contender. Are the Los Angeles Lakers already in must-win territory? And I get Matt and Hayes' first half of the NBA season awards. That's all today on Locked On NBA.
You are Locked On NBA, your daily NBA podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On NBA. Thanks for making us your first listen of the day. We are free and we are available wherever you get your podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm Doug Branson, host of Locked On Hornets and your Shot Clock Sherpa, guiding you through the NBA's biggest stories with the help of Locked On's local experts. And with me, as always, are two of Locked On's premier national NBA experts from the Locked On Nuggets podcast and senior NBA writer for the Action Network. You can see him on 17 podcasts per day. It is Matt Moore. And from the Locked On Bulls podcast, always looking suave, always looking cool. I love the t-shirt. It is Hayes. How you doing, Hayes?
I'm all right.
I told Hayes before the show, Matt, that I'm getting tired of reporting on all of these Jimmy Butler rumors, that we should just start cooking up rumors of our own. Let's just start pulling them from everywhere, making them up as we go along, because we're just going over the same territory a lot, except for this part of the story that we got yesterday while we were taping. Jimmy Butler and Pat Riley meeting face-to-face with a meeting with Mickey Arison on deck. Lots of updates on Jimmy Butler's present and future status with the Miami Heat. Let's go to Locked On Heat for the rundown.
Jimmy Butler and Pat Riley met face-to-face, and Butler reiterated his desire to get traded. Jimmy told him that he will not sign a new contract with the Heat. He's willing to pick up his option for next season, but only to facilitate a trade. That the Heat have engaged with multiple teams in trade talks around Jimmy Butler, have received offers for Jimmy Butler, but none that they like. The Heat are also expecting Jimmy Butler to return to the team for Friday's game against the Nuggets. And owner Mickey Arison plans to meet with Jimmy Butler on Friday to discuss options for how to handle Jimmy Butler for the rest of the season.
Okay, Matt, what do these meetings indicate to you, and how should the Heat proceed, at least in the short term?
No. It's not the meetings. It's the sequence of events. So here's what's interesting, okay, is they leak basically that they're expecting him back last week, right? Like, okay, we want him back. Like, hey, he can come back, but he's going to play. But and we expect him to be a professional. And so then on Monday, what do you get? Or on Tuesday, what do you get? You get they met with him. He told them he wanted out. And then there's like this list of grievances that Chris Haynes reported on the Lebitard show, including they missed a paycheck because of an HR issue. How dare you? Are you kidding me? You make $40 million a year. So the sequence is the Heat say, we don't have a deal we like. We're not trading you unless we get a deal we like. We expect you to come back and play. And Jimmy responding with, I'm just going to make this so uncomfortable and lob these accusations at you. I still want out. This is still just negotiating through the media. This is signals being shot across the bow in that way. Jimmy is indicating, you want me to come back and be the good teammate, and you're not going to get it because I'm Jimmy Butler.
Those missed paychecks mean a lot there, Matt, especially, with Jimmy Butler recently, these kids that nobody knew Jimmy Butler had just coming out of nowhere. So, you got that part of it as well. He did the DeMar DeRozan. Nonetheless, I'm going to shut up on that one. This situation with Pat Riley, Jimmy Butler, the Miami Heat, this is the same thing. Like, we predicted this. If only people paid more attention to Locked On NBA every day. We've been telling you guys this was going to be ugly the moment that anything popped up. We knew that this was going to be ugly. Nobody can make anything as big of a crap show, and that's not the word I want to use. Y'all figure it out, as Jimmy Butler. What did I say yesterday? I said ether would be the one that Jimmy Butler will use. I think we're almost at this point going full not like us, Kendrick Lamar. Jimmy Butler's going scorched earth against the Miami Heat soon.
But, should Heat fans care about any of the stuff that Chris Haynes was laying out? Play games or don't play games, and Pat Riley, trade the guy or don't trade the guy. It just feels like I don't know who these leaks are for.
I was on a bunch of like podcasts yesterday, as you mentioned, Doug, and one of the things that got mentioned, two of them was like the casual fans have no idea what's going on, are completely confused. They're just like, what's happening? Like, what's going on? And this is where I think honestly, the drama side that we all talk about the NBA and how it's like interesting and good. I think it goes too far, where it's like at some level, this needs to be about the sport being played. And this feels very divorced from basketball. And that's one of the reasons why Butler keeps trying to be like, he wants an opportunity to play in his role, which is nonsense. And he doesn't feel like he taking shots at Spo, which is nonsense. Like, this is just about the money, right? This is money being played out. And it's in large part because of, the new CBA. So we have like these kind of dynamics playing out. But you're right, Doug. I think it's a great question, Doug. Is like, who is this for? What does this do? Like, who is this going to help? Like, what is the point of all this? Sort your business out. Like, should Jimmy honor his contract the way the Heat want to? Yes. Is he going to? No. Do you want to know how you could have told that he was not going to do that? By paying attention to any part of Jimmy Butler's career. It's time. Just move on with it. You lost.
You mentioned divorce from basketball. Divorce was a word that came up on the Locked On Heat podcast. Let's go back out to Wes Goldberg and David Ramil for their take on what these meetings mean.
Most divorces occur because of finances. A lot of divorces happen because of money, right? And I think this divorce starts with that. I think we're right to read that, yeah, had maybe Pat Riley offered the extension in the summer when he also offered the extension to Bam Adebayo, this stuff isn't happening. You get divorced because of finances, and then all of a sudden you're fighting over the toaster. It's like, I never really cared about that toaster, but you're definitely not going to get that toaster, so I'm going to get that toaster. Now we're fighting over a toaster. The core issue here is the fact that the Heat did not offer Jimmy Butler that extension, and in not doing so, wounded him emotionally, insulted him to the point of no return. And Pat Riley and the Heat front office and Jimmy Butler and his representation have done a lot of things since then that have basically made the situation worse. So the situation that started just about money has become a lot more of other things.
But it's a really nice toaster, to be fair. It's a great toaster. Hayes, Sam Amick of The Athletic dropped an update of his own just a few hours ago. Two league sources telling him that contrary to earlier reports, Jimmy Butler has not told the Milwaukee Bucks that he would not play there. What's the more likely end scenario in your mind? The Suns are playing everything extremely close to the vest and will somehow end up with Butler at the end of all of this, or is Butler forced to concede and play with a team that isn't one of his desired destinations?
I think at this point, Butler's going to have, if he's going to be moved, it's not going to be one of his preferred destinations. Everything that has been against him potentially going to one of those destinations, none of that has changed. None of it's just changed. The Suns cannot make something happen. I just don't think Bradley Beal is going to move that deal, or they're going to find a third team. So if Jimmy Butler is traded, it's going to come via the Miami Heat just making the move that best suits the franchise, not necessarily Jimmy Butler. And I pray for that franchise that decides to make that move.
I just kind of realized this just came to me. One of the limitations of the CBA, and we keep coming back to this because it is that big of a deal, they didn't do the thing that's available in baseball and in other sports where you can pay for the player that you trade. Right. So like that would be the situation here, is like what you needed for Ishbia to be able to be like, if you take on Bradley Beal, I'll pay the salary. I'll pay for 30 million of the 50. And that probably opens up a lot more doors, right? Again, the whole problem is Bradley Beal with a no trade clause. I still kind of think he winds up in Phoenix. I'm very curious about this Milwaukee report because of the implications. I've heard Milwaukee was involved for a long time. There's been conversations about a four-way involving Chicago. I think that they're still looking for that fifth team to add Bradley Beal. I'll say this. I think the end result is a massive, massive trade, which makes it unlikely because you have to get everybody online, no one to change their minds, and all the owners to agree. But that to me seems the most likely thing because you have Chicago, Milwaukee, New Orleans, Phoenix, Miami, and whoever, Denver is included in that, with large contracts that they want to move. And under the new CBA, to get this kind of deal done, you can only move those big contracts for other big contracts. So I feel like one big move, multi-team, is the only way that this gets done. But sun's getting real low. I don't know how much time they got left to get it done.
That's nice. I see what you did there. You mentioned the out that other leagues had. I saw someone on the NBA Reddit mention or ask the question, why did the owners or someone bring up the amnesty provision again in the last CBA negotiations that would have given some teams an out to make room for certain players, and maybe they look at that during the next negotiations or some kind of thing that will loosen up the market a little bit.
They didn't do that because they do not like having to pay players that do not pay for them, because their thing is cut costs now, but the CBA doesn't allow for it. I don't care. Just get it done. Cut my costs. Do it now. Do you want to win games? Yes, I want to win a championship. We are a premium organization. We compete for championships. Cut my costs. Owners.
All right. Coming up on the Locked On NBA podcast, Denver gets a big performance from Jamal Murray. Are they back in NBA title contention? Plus, the Lakers, another losing streak, more existential problems. Is it a must win? Locked On Lakers. We'll hear from them as well coming up. Today's episode of the Locked On NBA podcast is brought to you by Hungry Root. When it comes to grocery shopping and meal planning, I've always struggled to find the time between work, life, and trying to eat healthier. I'd buy things I didn't need and still end up stressed out about what to cook. Then I discovered Hungry Root. It's been a total game changer. Hungry Root handles your grocery shopping and your meal planning, recommending meals based on your taste and your health goals. From anti-inflammatory to high-protein options, they've got it all. And the best part, every meal is ready in 15 minutes or less. Quick, healthy, and delicious meals delivered straight to your door. It doesn't get any easier than this. Even my toddler, who is one of the pickiest eaters I know, loved every meal that I made with Hungry Root. It made me feel like a rock star in the kitchen. You're going to love Hungry Root as much as I do. For a limited time, you can get 40% off your first box, and you get a free item in every box for life. Go to hungryroot.com/LockedOnNBA and use code LockedOnNBA. That's hungryroot.com/LockedOnNBA. Use the code LockedOnNBA. hungryroot.com/LockedOnNBA. Code LockedOnNBA. Don't miss out and don't miss more of Locked On NBA ahead. Thanks for making Locked On NBA your first listen every day. Make sure you're checking out Locked On NBA Game Night. It's on this feed. It goes on the feed just after the games end every night. You can get recaps on each game. Your favorite NBA team also has a free daily newsletter. Go to LockedOnDaily.com, subscribe, and stay up to date with local expert analysis and amazing writing from people like Katie Heindel, Mike Shearer, and you get Locked On Fantasy Basketball tips from Josh Lloyd as well. All right, Jimmy Butler wants a trade really, really bad, but I don't know if he wants it bad enough to go to the Heat's opponent tonight. That's the Los Angeles Lakers, who are mired in another losing streak with serious questions now about their offense. It's like sort of oscillates between their defense and the offense week to week. Locked On Lakers was close to calling tonight's game a must-win in their latest episode, but they would just settle for a functional offense.
There's, I think, an element of getting back to basics. Number one, start getting back to an offense that, again, revolves around Anthony Davis, like you did for the first 14 games of the season when you were 10-4 and AD looked like an MVP candidate. And we were talking about the potential upside of this team, and they were harder to guard and they looked more functional. It makes no sense for Rui to be taking fewer shots than Max Christie. The more Rui is involved, I think it is kind of an avatar for everybody being involved more and the offense looking more egalitarian the way it did earlier in the season when it was less predictable, less, automatic high screen and roll, less stagnant, less guys standing around, harder to defend.
All right, so I heard a lot of play prioritization in there, and that leads me to a question about JJ Redick, first-year head coach for the Los Angeles Lakers. How much of their current problems are on his shoulders and trying to figure all of this out, Matt?
It's a great question. I think we have a big enough sample to know yet. I just don't think we know, because here's the problem. They have been good on offense, bad on defense, good on defense, bad on offense. And they haven't really found an equilibrium where they're good at both or bad at both. And that to me tells me that it's not necessarily on coaching. It's more about player consistency and opponent strength, maybe, right? That they're just kind of an average team, but they don't have any principles set in that are working night to night. If you look at it, last 2 weeks, the offense actually hasn't been the problem, which is like a little bit surprising, but they're 11th on offense the last 2 weeks, but they're 27th on defense. When they were winning, they had like a really elite defense, and then their offense had fallen off. They can't find a way to kind of get the equilibrium built where they have both here. They have a new head coach. They added a new player. They lost some guys. Jerry Vanderbilt's not back, and I don't know. I keep acting like Vando's some huge difference maker. Hayes, I don't honestly know, because I can't like pinpoint even when I watch them, I can't pinpoint what the problem is. They're just not good enough right now.
Yeah, they're just not a good team. I think like JJ is doing the best that he can. I mean, not to say that there aren't some things that he can tighten up on and improve on as a coach, with like sometimes balance, sometimes bringing in guys at the right time, knowing when to move off. But that's I expect that from a first-time head coach. The problem here is the roster. We've always known that this roster doesn't have the balance, and to say that we need to do some things like, play through AD again. Well, one of the problems is that AD has to do so much for this defense to even look like a halfway decent defense that, of course, is going to affect this offense. That's why we've heard the things and talked about the things that could help AD, of helping getting him another body in there, especially a center to where he can move back to the power forward. Like, I don't look at this and say that it's JJ and stuff that he's the limitation of that. I just think you have a roster that's just not all that good, and they're going to have some days where they look good. They're going to have some streaks where they look bad. That's just the place where this Lakers roster is. Nobody should be surprised by this.
I mean, the real elephant in the room, they're -7 with LeBron on court net rating right now.
Wow.
I mean, and like nobody wants to deal with that, and I understand it, but like, this is the second most impactful player in the league over the last 20 years behind Steph Curry. And I think overall, when counting defense, he's probably the most impactful, right? Like, he's either the GOAT or the second GOAT. But we always kind of wondered, when would the wheels fall off? He's always been like, his minutes have always been great. It's LeBron, and they're not right now. And I don't know what they do with that. I don't know what you can do with that.
I know that divisions don't matter as much as they used to, but I'm looking at this specific division. The Clippers lead right now, 21-17. Los Angeles a half game back from them. The Sacramento Kings, their winning streak ends, but they're 10-12 at home and 10-18 away. And then Phoenix Suns, Golden State Warriors. Lots of problems in this division. Hayes, you want to venture a guess? That's all I got. I don't even want to call it a prediction. Would you like to venture a guess at who wins this division by the end of the season?
Ooh, that's nasty. That's nasty work. Who wins that division? Broke me again. I'll say the Clippers.
Okay, oh, wow. I really broke you. I really broke you if you're going to pick the Clippers.
You really did. You really did.
Hayes took the Clippers. I can't believe it. I'll take the Kings. There's been like a slow slide for the Clippers. Like, they're just kind of like settling back into kind of where they are. I'll take the Kings here just because like they at least have a momentum shift, right? That they fired Mike Brown. They had Doug Christie. I thought it was dumb. A lot of people thought it was dumb, and it's working. And sometimes that's how the NBA goes, where it's like they did this thing that was really dumb and it worked. And so now I think that there's probably upward momentum. I want to get in on the Suns. I feel like this team should be so much better, but they're such a mess right now. Like, Nurkic is out of the rotation. Like, it's so bad. The Warriors are spiraling. Like, you can't identify. The only team with signs of life right now is the Kings, so I'll take them. Can I just say no one? Like, can we just no one wins the Pacific Division? The Nuggets get it. That's the answer.
Well, there's much more clarity in the Nuggets division. The Northwest led by Oklahoma City Thunder. I'm not sure anyone's catching them. Denver 9 games back of them within the division. But the Nuggets get a win over the Mavericks last night, and the story was Jamal Murray scoring 45 points in that win. The Mavs were welcoming back Kyrie Irving into the lineup. We'll get to that in a second. But that 45 points by Murray is the most he's scored since tearing his ACL in 2021. Here's Locked On Nuggets host Ryan Blackburn with how the team responded to Murray heating up and what it means for Denver moving forward.
Everybody, honestly, more than willing to kind of give Murray the ball and get out of the way, or screen for him, or find him off of a screen, or just to attack and transition and then find him in that way. There were so many opportunities where the team was just hunting for shots for Jamal. And I think everybody really cares about getting him going too. The team knows how important he is, because when Jokic has it going, okay, That's like every Tuesday. That's like every day of the week. Jokic always has it going. But Murray can just get to that other level. And having a second scorer that can go for a crooked number and win you a basketball game because of how dynamic he is, that is what separates Denver from being a playoff contender and a championship contender. This is probably the most encouraging game I've seen that says Denver can win a title because of Murray. Murray's that important.
Okay, what do you think, Matt, about what your co-host said there, Ryan Blackburn? Do you agree? Is Murray that important? Does he take them from where they are to title contention?
First, shouts to Ryan for doing the show solo last night because I was toast. Second, I can never really get through this because this is how Nuggets fans feel, is like it's all on Murray. If Murray can be the Murray that he needs to be, then they can win the championship. But Murray's got to be Murray, and Murray must Murray. And I'm kind of like, you have Nikola Jokic. You have the best player in the world. What? Really? Like the second best guy has to be this good in order for you to be able to win a championship? Like you have the best player in the league that everyone agrees is the best player in the world, and you can't get it done otherwise. The guy that maximizes everybody else, and you have most of the core from the championship team, and you can't get there unless Murray is this. But if Murray is this, does it make it easier? Absolutely. Murray, the problem is just like Murray's not, like he's not healthy. He just went through one of his worst stretches of the season in terms of health-wise. He looked awful, and now this is the thing, is like some nights he feels great, some nights he feels terrible. Denver's problem has been consistency. Their starters have one of the worst first quarter net ratings in the league and one of the best fourth quarter net ratings in the league. They're inconsistent quarter by quarter. You don't know what to expect from them game to game. Until I see that, that's a bigger deal to me than Jamal Murray. This helps. It's good to see from Jamal, but I need to see consistency from this team before I buy in.
I mean, Matt has a different perspective than me. He's closer to the team. I'd look at Jamal Murray. I've always looked at Jamal Murray from the outside looking into somebody who is a fan of basketball, and I've loved watching Jokic and Jamal Murray play and what that tandem has been able to do together with Mike Malone being their coach. And I think, yeah, Jamal Murray is important to what that team's going on. Do they have other problems? Absolutely. But to look at Jamal Murray, he has to be on, in my opinion, for the Denver Nuggets to really want to accomplish some of their bigger goals this season. And I think that that's just the level of Jamal Murray is. Now, of course, when you have Russ playing at the level he has, that lessens that a little bit. And I think that they need some help. I still think that the Denver Nuggets should probably look to make a trade here before now in the trade deadline. But Jamal Murray is hugely important to that Denver Nuggets team, in my opinion.
All right, when we come back, I will ask Matt and Hayes where their head is on the Nuggets' opponent last night, the Dallas Mavericks. They welcomed back Kyrie Irving, but they also lost an important piece, or potentially could lose an important piece in that game. That and their picks, we're halfway through the season. I want to get their picks for first half season awards. All ahead on Locked On NBA. Today's episode of Locked On NBA is brought to you by Wayfair. After the holiday hustle, there's nothing like giving your home a little TLC. Decluttering and refreshing your space can make a world of difference as you settle back into your routine. Whether you're tidying up, clearing out, or just looking to give your home a fresh new look, for the year, Wayfair has everything you need, and it's all within your budget. I used Wayfair to design my entire nursery for our newborn, and their massive selection made it easy to find the pieces that fit our style perfectly. And the best part, free, hassle-free delivery, even on the bigger items, like that crib that we bought. Plus, their site is so user-friendly. I had everything I wanted in no time. Now it's time to find a comfortable chair that I can watch games in, and I'll be using Wayfair to help me find the perfect one. Give your home the refresh it needs with Wayfair. Head to wayfair.com right now. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. More Locked On NBA ahead. As promised, Matt Hayes, I want to know your thoughts on where the Dallas Mavericks are right now. They got Kyrie Irving back, but they potentially lost Derek Lively to an ankle injury. And the most optimistic timeline for Luka Dončić's return appears to be just after the All-Star break. Matt, we'll start with you. Are you starting to get worried about their ability to even get into the playoffs with these injuries piling up?
No, I think they'll get there. I think this team is capable of rattling off 18 in the last 20. This team at full strength is probably the second best team in the West. And some of that is based off of they just haven't played as many games together. So it's easier to say that versus some of the other contenders like the Grizzlies or the Rockets. But I do think that ultimately this team is extremely dangerous. This ankle injury for Lively is not great, but it's minor. Luka's going to come back. Luka will probably be in better shape, hopefully, maybe, and that will help keep him steady for the run. They're going to be okay. And when they're okay, they're extremely dangerous. I will say right now, the Dallas Mavericks will make the playoffs, and they will win a round.
Yeah, I agree. The Dallas Mavericks, they shouldn't be too worried. Like, of course, you want to try to avoid falling to the play-in if you can, just because why put yourself in a situation where one game you can be eliminated because any team can win one game. I think as long as the Dallas Mavericks avoid that, and even if they do, I mean, I could easily see them making out the play-in if they're fully healthy. But if you can just avoid that, I'm not too worried about it for the Dallas Mavericks. You get Luka back, you can go on a nice run. You just got to stay healthy. Once Luka comes back, they got to have relative health from then into the end of the season. But I'm not too worried about the Dallas Mavericks' ability to make the playoffs.
Imagine OKC gets the 1 seed and the Mavericks are their first round opponent.
That could happen.
Early in the season, Luka was dealing with a few lingering issues, but one of them was his clutch offense, and they lost a few games they probably should have won. So one wonders if that could be the difference between them making the play-in or the playoffs outright, or maybe even reaching the play-in at all. We'll have to see. All right, let's move on. Teams are approaching game number 41, the halfway mark of the NBA's regular season, and we're halfway through the week, so I thought it would be a great time to check in with Matt and Hayes on their NBA season awards. But before we do that, let's hear from Locked On Magic's Philip Rossman-Reich, who makes the case that Magic head coach Jamal Mosley should be getting more noise on Coach of the Year.
Jamal Mosley is a superstar on this team. He deserves a lot more noise for Coach of the Year than he's getting. I think he's up to third in the odds now. Kenny Atkinson's still the runaway favorite. But ask any coach in the league, how impressive is what Jamal Mosley's doing with all the injuries the Magic are facing? And they all say, this is what a good culture is. This is what a good team does. It doesn't matter who they have out. It doesn't matter who's not in the game. They find a way because they don't change who they are. The Magic have become what everyone thinks the Miami Heat are. Jamal Mosley has built this over the last 3 years. And this year, with the Magic facing tons of adversity, his team has delivered. It has been impressive to watch. It has been stunning to see. And Mose deserves a lot of accolades and a lot of credit for what he has brought to this team. And that's why he is my first half MVP.
Okay, I don't have him on my MVP ladder, but I think he should be getting more conversation on Coach of the Year. We'll eventually get all of your picks here in this segment, but which of the major awards do you feel like is the tightest race, and which of these do you feel like is the most sewn up, Hayes?
The tightest race, Rookie of the Year, because everybody in that is so close. It really depends on who has a hot week towards the end of the season. So there you go. That's the tightest race there. The most short up race that I think you got a GM of the Year, Executive of the Year, whatever it's called, Mike Gainsey with the Cleveland Cavaliers. I don't know. Like, I had so many questions when they locked in all these guys to contract extensions on what exactly this team was going to look like. But his faith in this roster, his faith in this and what they were going to be able to do together, the sum of the parts has all worked seamless. And the way that they've been able to play this year, I think that as Executive of the Year, he gets my vote easily.
I will say the most locked up I actually think is Coach. So like Mosley deserves a lot more credit. And he might honestly be my vote at this point, but the Cavs are going to win like 70 games and he's going to win Coach of the Year. Like this was a team that did not hit its expectations. They bring in Atkinson. The roster is mostly the same. That's why I actually don't think Gainsey, like, I don't see that happening because like, I think that other teams have actually made, like, I think Presti's more likely because he's running Caruso and Hartenstein, even though they've missed a bunch of time with injuries. That I think is more likely to happen. But Atkinson's impact is so evident. And the other thing is that the coaches have a huge impact on this award. And they're all going to be like, come on, Kenny won 70 games. Come on. And so that's going to be it, even though I think probably Mosley's job has been the most impressive of anybody.
All right, how about Defensive Player of the Year? Do either of you have a name that isn't Victor Wembanyama? Is that one pretty much sewn up by this point?
Yeah, it should. Okay, here we go. as it stands right now, if things continue, it should not be Victor Wembanyama, and the idea is insulting. This is not a top 5. This is not a top 5 defense. If you look at defensive rate, and you're like, well, it's because of the non-Wemby minutes. Nope. When you compare on-court defensive rating, that's not true. Oh, but individually, nope. If you look at individual metrics as far as like actual how guys are shooting, guess what? They shoot better versus Wemby than they do versus Jaren Jackson. Jaren Jackson should be your DPOY right now. That Grizzlies defense is elite. It's awesome. You don't like Jaren? Fine. Let's go to Houston and take any number of candidates. My favorite being my pick for 6th man of the year, which we'll get to in a second. Or we can go to the Thunder. Take your pick. You want Lou Dort? Fine. That's good. You want Alex Caruso, even though he hasn't played a lot? Sure. I think, honestly, a good thing might be to give it to Chet Holmgren and Isaiah Hartenstein as a combo award. Like, those two should split it. But you know who should not win it? Victor Wembanyama, who is the best shot blocker in the league and an absolute phenom and is going to win 8 of these awards in his time. We don't have to get there ahead. Yes, he averages 4 blocks a game. Yes, that's a lot. But we got to look at what actually impacts the defense. The Spurs are not elite on that end, even when he's on the floor. No, Wemby's not the DPOY. Jaren Jackson's mine right now.
All right, so Matt seems on the fence about it. Hayes, how about you?
I did not expect that. Not to say that I'm surprised that he didn't pick Wemby, but the fire that just came out of there, man, that boy's hot. Wemby's my defensive player of the year. I mean, it is what it is. Like, I'm not about to argue with Matt, but like what Wemby's doing, the 4 blocks per game, the 1.5 steals per game. Like, I get it. Yeah, the Spurs aren't an elite defense, and that's a valid argument there. But Wemby, he's going to win Defensive Player of the Year. So that's the pick for defense.
He's going to win it. I'm just going to yell about it into the void as he does.
All right, let's quickly run these down with the remaining time we have left. Most improved player. Matt, who you got?
Right now, I've got Tyler Hero. I think it's going to be really close, but I don't know how you don't give it to Tyler, who was trade bait for years and years and years, has been the best player on a team that continues to hang in the playoff race. Mine's Tyler Hero.
Hayes?
Tyson Daniels.
How close is Cade Cunningham to this award on your list?
He's the number 1 pick. If it's my vote, I'm never going to give it to a number 1 pick. You are supposed to be good.
Yeah, I don't like giving it to the number 1 pick in the sophomore season. I hate that. But yeah, I mean, he's made a pretty big jump this season.
He's improved a ton. I get it, but again, you were going to do this. You're the number 1 pick.
All right, Hayes, 6th man of the year.
Matt, take it. Let me think on this for a second.
Amen Thompson. It's Amen Thompson for the Houston Rockets. Who makes more of an impact? Who's gone into the starting lineup because that's part of the 6 man. It's like, can you fill in with Jabari Smith Jr. out? Who's made more of an impact with opening? He's made Jalen Green good. That alone should make him 6th man of the year. Amen Thompson is a serious candidate for defensive player of the year. We should factor more defense into these awards. Who makes the biggest impact off the bench? It's Amen Thompson. He's phenomenal. He should win 6th man as a sophomore, which is incredible.
Right now, FanDuel has Amen Thompson at plus 850. DeAndre Hunter in front of him at plus 430, but still leading the way. The favorite, minus 180, is Peyton Pritchard for the Boston
Which is ridiculous.
Celtics.
That's nonsense. That's as much nonsense. That's bigger nonsense than Wemby, obviously.
Yeah. No Dean Wade here for you, man?
He starts.
Yeah, I know.
I do want to say, though, my Dean Wade of the year is Dean Wade. Well-deserved honor.
Yeah, we're going to do some, I want to do some fake awards later on in the year. When we get closer to actual award time, we'll do some fake awards. But let's wrap things up. Your most valuable player, Matt. Who's your most valuable player this year?
Right now, it's Nikola Jokic. Shai's going to win it, and he's going to deserve it. But this race is incredible. I don't factor wins at this point in the season. We got to see where you get to at the end of the year. At the end of the year, Shai at 30 points per game plus 70 plus wins is going to get him the award, and deservingly so. Right now, I don't factor that in. So right now, based off of the production, I don't know that anybody's ever had a season like Jokic's having right now. Like, the numbers are baffling. So I will go ahead and I will give it to Nikola Jokic right now.
Hayes?
Shai's been my pick, and I wanted him to win MVP last year. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander deserves MVP this year.
I don't think Giannis is going to win it, but I think he's going to make it a lot closer of a contest than it is right now. He's plus 2,000 on FanDuel. Nikola is plus 145. Shai at minus 170. All right, that's going to do it for this edition of Locked On NBA. If you like what you heard today, subscribe to Locked On NBA wherever you get podcasts, including on YouTube. Thanks for making Locked On NBA your first listen. Thanks to Matt and Hayes for all of their expertise. Enjoy tonight's action. Be kind to each other, and we're going to see you right back here on Thursday's edition of Locked On NBA.